to the Lifeline Conference 3.0. It is finally here, the moment we've all been waiting for. I'm your host, Seth Bowman, and I am excited about this year's edition of the Lifeline Conference. We have put a lot of energy, a lot of work into what we have here for you this year, and I'm sure it's going to be a very, very promising experience. I have very wonderful people here with me this year, and we can't wait to get started. I'm kicking off the conference this year, and we're going to have our guests come on next in day 2. So yeah, it's very promising, and we're really excited to be here. The theme for this year: own your destiny. If you're hearing this, and if you're watching wherever you are, put in the chat, own your destiny. Now, we set out this year particularly to help people discover their gifts and cultivate a presence. That's the theme for the year. Own your destiny, cultivate a presence by discovering your gifts. So we're really excited to be here. We're really excited to be doing this. And as your host, I will be taking you through the unveiling of the team and why we're here today. Now, for those of you who might probably be joining the Lifeline stage for the first time, welcome. And if you're going to be watching this in replay value, please don't forget to share this with a loved one, your friend, your family, and let them be a part of the movement. Now, I don't want to waste any more time. I want to go straight to it. And I want to start by, first of all, explaining why we decided to have this team this year. Now, first of all, the Lifeline Conference is tailored for a lot of individuals who are trying to find their way through life, trying to find essence with what they're doing, trying to discover their potential. Now, I've started under a lot of people. I've listened to so many messages about being able to discover your gifts. But the problem we have is how to begin, how to start. What am I meant to do? These are the questions that run through our minds. And we are very, very concerned, especially people who are, go-getters, people who desire more in life are always left with that question mark of, what am I here to do? What is my life meant to be? Now, that and so many more questions will be addressed as we go on in the conference this year. Now, my name is Seth Bowman, and this is the Lifeline Conference. Now, first of all, I want to say that the topic today, leading a life of significance. Now, that is a very, very peculiar topic because in itself it is very broad, but I'll do my best to break it down today. So without wasting any much time, let's go straight into it. Now, lead a life of significance. What does that mean? When you hear that word, it immediately just hits you with, what is my life meant to be? What am I meant to do? And there are a lot of questions that we ask ourselves. But, in the simplicity of what we're meant to do, we understand that as humans, we are naturally wired to be, adventurous. We're naturally wired to be people who look to discover ourselves. But the problem is that the average human being struggles to identify himself or herself, and that's why they end up living the life of another person. So, did you get that? The average human being struggles with self-identity. That is why they end up living the life of another person. Now, this is very sad because a lot of us go by each day trying to discover ourselves, trying to be original, not to be mediocre. But the problem is we often get lost in what we're meant to do out of life. Now, that brings us with 5 life questions. I like to call it 5 essential life questions, which every one of us must answer at one point in our lives. Now, number 1 is, who am I? Who am I is a case of your identity. Your identity simply means, what do you stand for? What are you known for? All right? What do you identify as? We have a lot of confusion going on now in the world as to who should be identified as what. But in this context, who am I simply means, the identity of yourself. You being able to define who you are as an individual, defining who you are as a person. This is very important because you see that a lot of people who cannot identify themselves end up living a life that is a copy of another person. You find a lot of people who are not confident in their style, confident in themselves, end up, finding confidence from designer brands. You see people wearing Gucci, you see people wearing Chanel, Michael Jordan. Now, these are brands of other people So you're wearing the names of other people because you are trying to find confidence. Now, I'm not saying everybody should be a fashion designer, but these people who have stepped out from the crowd and have established a brand, and that brand has been recognized globally, all right, have people now wearing their face, have people wearing the name of their brand everywhere they go. So, in other words, you're just helping to promote that company in the name of I'm wearing a designer outfit. Now, in this context, we're trying to say that for you to define who you are as a person, you must first of all, be able to identify you're the person. You must be able to identify your name. You must be able to identify the things that you stand for. All right, because that's very crucial. Most people who can't define who they are always end up being confused, and people end up defining you. And when they define you, definitely to impede you as a person. Now, you do not want to be in that position where people get to define you for who you're not. You want people to see you for who you really are. And that brings us to the next part, which is where am I? Now, where am I is coined from the part of your source. Who is your source? Where is your source? How did you come about? Now, I'm not talking about your biological makeup. I'm talking about you identifying, first of all, who you are and then where you're from. Basically means that you must understand from where your life began. This is a very broad conversation, but in the simplicity of things, it just simply means that you are able to create an impression of your source. Now, take for instance, if you find a product that has been made by the manufacturer, that manufacturer has identified the purpose of that creation. So that creation is labeled with an image and is traced to its source. For instance, Mercedes, they have a symbol. So whenever you see the symbol of that vehicle, you know where it is from. You know the source, you know the manufacturer, you know who produced that thing. Now that's how the question of where am I from? It means where is your source? Where do you find essence from? Where do you find meaning from? Now, why am I here is a question of purpose. Now, this topic, or this word rather, purpose, is often misinterpreted or often explained in dynamic ways that would rather even leave more people confused. But I'd like to give a simple explanation to the word purpose by simply defining it as that thing which you do with the least amount of effort. Anything you can do seamlessly, anything you love to do, anything that is a passion for you. It might be painting, it might be singing, it might be art, it might be music, it might be drama, it might be even cooking. It might be the ability to even speak to people and they listen. That's the gift of counseling. Now, your purpose is very important because with that, you can now find your essence in life. You can now trace the things that you're meant to do in life. Now, why am I here? Meaning, what is your reason on earth? Why were you born to be on this earth? Now, very few people are privileged to find out their purpose on earth, but some of us wander for so long just trying to find essence in what we should do or who we should become. Now that leaves us with a lot of ifs, with a lot of question marks around what we do. But the truth is that when you look inwards, when you search deeper, when you pay attention to your strengths, when you pay attention to your weaknesses, when you pay attention to the opportunities, when you pay attention to the threats around you, you can identify your purpose, you can identify the meaning of your existence. Purpose is best defined when you trace your weaknesses and you eliminate them with your strengths. Purpose is also best defined when you can look into those things that you do with the least amount of effort. Things that you love to do even without anybody telling you. Things that you love to do even without people speaking to you or trying to caution you. Things you love to do and they give you fulfillment. I like to say that your job only gives you finances, but your life work gives you fulfillment. Your job are the skills that you possess, but your work requires your gifts, requires your talents. And so, as an individual, as a person trying to wander through life, you must first of all understand number one, who am I, which is your identity. Number two, where am I from? Which is your source. And most importantly, why am I here on earth? So if you're watching this, ask yourself, why am I here on earth? Purpose is very important when you talk about living a life of significance because there is no significant life without purpose. There is no significant life without knowing what you're meant to do here on earth. You would just be wandering like a stray dog who doesn't have an owner, jumping from corner to corner, eating trash, eating dump. But the truth is that when you find purpose, you have a life that is organized, you have a life that is, moving in a planned direction. Now that moves us to the next point, number four, which is what can I do? This is a question I always ask myself sometimes when I want to embark on a new mission or when I have a new objective to conquer. I always ask myself, what can I do? What is my potential? How many of you know that success can be predicted, as well as failure can also be predicted? You have people that have so much potential, and it's like they are, taking on life easy, seamlessly without any problem. That's because they understand their potential and they know what they can do. Now, people who know what they can do pride themselves as experts, specialists, masters, gurus. But the truth is that before they became what they became, they had to be formed from the foundational stage. Now, people who become masters in a craft, masters in art, masters in anything they do, first of all, struggled with learning about themselves. You have to be attentive to who you are as a person. You have to be attentive to what you're meant to do. You have to be attentive to the things that are also dear to your heart. Because the truth is, you cannot conquer this earth. You cannot find essence in life if you do not know your potential. Early last year, I released the book, Wake Up, Step Up and Lead. And one of the topics, one of the chapters in the book, Discover Your Potential, is very, 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 very important because it talks about how you can as well find what you're meant to do by paying close attention to yourself. The problem we have, especially in today's world, is that we are too busy to listen to our hearts. We're too busy to even understand the things that we're capable of doing. We like to see what other people do and we jump on them. A lot of people jump on trends. A lot of people like to copy what the next person is doing just so that they can find fulfillment. And like I said, an average person struggles to find themselves. They struggle with self identity. So they end up living the life of another person. So I hope you're not living the life of another person. What you must understand is when it comes to potential, you mustn't know everything, but you should know something. You should have that one thing that you do that gives you fulfillment, that one thing you do excellently. Even if it is just with how you can, stitch a dress, or how well you know how to even tie a lace, or how well you know how to sing, how to draw, how to paint. Now, let me give you a life lesson. When I was a teenager, about 16, 18, I struggled with mediocrity. I was trying to do everything possible to be just like the next person. It was so bad that I even copied the handwriting of somebody's own who I felt had a better writing than I did. I also tried to copy people's style, what they wore, how they kept their hair, how did they walk. These were things that I tried to mimic just because, I struggled to find originality. I wasn't content in myself. I wasn't content in the things that I could do. And that left me with a lot of problems because at the point where I matured into full adulthood, it was still a problem because I was blindfolded with mediocrity that I couldn't see myself. I couldn't see my strengths. Yes, I used to be very timid. I used to be very shy. But on top of that, I've always tried to be excellent. Now, here's the lesson. When you have so many gifts, when you're blessed, I mean, there are people who are multi-talented. If you're one of them, I celebrate you. But if you're like some of us here who just have maybe one or two gifts, you're also celebrated. Now, here's the thing. What can I do is a sincere question. It's a question that doesn't need to be marked. It doesn't need to be put on a performance scale. It's a sincere question that would help you decide what can I do with the little I have. Like I always tell people, you don't want to have a large quest or give yourself a huge task when you have little resources. But with little, you can now form big. It all takes time. Because when you understand your potential, when you know the things that you can do, and you can do excellently well, that brings you to the next point, which is, where am I going? It's a question of destiny. Like I've said, the theme of this year, own your destiny, discover your gifts, and cultivate a presence. It's a very simple yet complex theme. The word destiny, we often misinterpret it as future, but that is not all. The word destiny also simply means destination. Where am I heading? Where am I going? Where do I see myself after 2 years? Where do I see myself in 5 years? Where do I see myself in 10 years? But everything you do that starts from a thought that materializes into an idea that now becomes in the physical, in reality, first of all started with a thought. Somebody thought about the dress you're wearing right now. Somebody thought about the shoe you're wearing right now. Somebody thought about the wristwatch you have on your hands. Somebody thought about even the food you're about to eat. Everything in life starts with a thought. Nothing is born without imagination. Nothing is conceived without, first of all, a concept. You must first of all understand that for you to find a life of significance, you must understand where you are going. You must understand what you can do. You must understand why you're here on earth. You must understand who you are as a person. Because all these things work together to fulfill destiny. They work together for you to have a life of significance. Now, there's something I must add by saying that you never know who you are until you know where you're from. And this is a very important, it's a very important point because growing up as a child, my mother, when she wants to scold us, would always say, know whose son you are. Now, what that simply means is there comes a time where, even in the life of kids, as children, we're also reminded about our heritage. We're reminded where we came from. We're reminded the things that we do in life. And this is very important because you must understand that as children, their minds are in their formidable stage. And so that is the point where they start to conceive ideas. That's the point where they start to conceive traits. That's the point where they start to conceive different form of behaviors. But what remains prevalent is their identity, their source, their purpose, their potential that leads them to their destiny. Now, success in life, like I said, is predictable. But most importantly, success is as a result of decisions. Success is as a result of decision. Failure is also as a result of decisions, which means that everything you do, whatever you become in life, is based on your decision. Whatever you become tomorrow, you decided to be that thing. And so we live in a life where decisions are not generally made for us. Every decision we make determines our today, determines our tomorrow. And that's why you must be careful of the decisions you make today because they can affect even the days that are yet to come. And you must know one thing that living a life of significance also requires you to be honest with yourself. It also requires you to look into the mirror and look at yourself and say, okay, am I on the right track? Am I doing what is pleasing? Am I doing what is meaningful? Am I living a life of excellence? The problem we have is that we're so quick to conclude on ourselves without giving ourselves the chance, without giving ourselves the ability to try and to hope. But one thing you must understand is that life itself is very dynamic. But you must first of all answer these five essential questions. Who am I? Where am I from? Why am I here? What can I do? And where am I going? If you have all these five answers, five questions answered correctly, then you're on a step to leading a life of significance. Now, let me give you a few pointers before I head out today. Number one is the fact that you must, first of all, in leading a life of significance, there are six things that you must consider. Number one is to foster a passion. Now, fostering a passion is very important because it leaves you with the understanding of, what is my purpose? What are the things that I want to do? What are the things that I desire so much that I really want to achieve. Fostering a passion simply means, like I said, when you have an idea, when you have something that you're so good at doing with the least amount of effort, it means that you've already fostered a passion, but you just haven't brought it to fruition. You just haven't brought it to the light yet. So you must look deeper to find those things that you do with the least amount of effort. Those things that you are, positively, passionate about. Those things you know that if you shared it with the world, it would be generally accepted, and you could do great things with it. Because the truth is, you cannot live a life of significance if you do not have something that you're passionate about, if you do not have something that is fulfilling. Like I said, a job only gives you finances, but your work gives you fulfillment. Your work, your life's work is your passion. Your life's work is that thing that you found purpose in. Secondly, you must develop purposeful connections. The problem I have, especially with young people in this generation, is we're quick to have social relationships, but most of them are not purposeful. Most of them are not, beneficial. We only have transactional relationships, but you need to develop purposeful connections. You need to network with people that will make your life have significance. So that when you have fostered that passion and you connect with people that can help you find significance, you see that that is a wonderful combination. So you don't want to go about just having an idea. You don't want to go about just having a fantastic job or a fantastic career. You want it to be meaningful. You want it to be significant. I mean, nobody goes to a job and just says, well, here I am again. Let's see what I can do from 9 to 5. And at the end of the day, I'll just go home and resume again. I mean, at a point, you're just going to wake up and you'll be frustrated at yourself. Because one thing we must note in life is that every day is very crucial. Every day that you wake up is very beneficial to what you must do and what you must become. So when you go out every day and you're just hopelessly moving around without any form of direction, that doesn't leave a very good impression. It just means that you're a wanderer. It means that you're confused. It also means that you don't have any idea of what you want to do with your life. Now, talking to you, I haven't said that finding significance in life is easy. It is also one of the most complicated things you could ever imagine. But the truth is that there comes a time in your life where you must sit back and begin to analyze yourself. Look inwardly and ask yourself, be honest with yourself. Have I really done well this year? I have a, I don't want to call it a ritual, but I have something that I do every year where I just sit back and then I analyze how the previous year had been. Now this is before the start of the new year, somewhere around late December. I always do this where I analyze my entire year just to see the things I did, things I missed out on, the things that I could push to the next year. Now, this is important because it helps me take track of my progress. And that brings us to the next point, which is take control of your thoughts. The problem with so many of us is that we have negativity speaking in the back of our heads. You have a negative thought sitting on both shoulders, and they just minister to you every day with, dragging words that push you. Control your thoughts doesn't necessarily mean just pushing out, the noise. It also means that you must be able to find that voice that can speak positivity back into you. I gave this illustration even in my book. I say that the brain works with how you speak to it. You ever see a man who wakes up in the morning and he's like, well, I don't feel like doing anything today. Today I just feel lazy. Now, what your brain is going to do, your brain is going to assemble all the different parts of itself that are in charge of making you happy, that are in charge of making you energetic, that are in charge of making you productive. And they'll just tell themselves, well, he said he's not ready to be useful today, so let's make him sad. Let's make his day lazy. And you continue to live throughout that 24 hours with so much sadness. Now, here's another person who wakes up in the morning energetic, full of life, ready to take on their day. And they keep ministering to themselves. They keep saying to themselves, today I'm going out there. Today I'm going to do so many things. Today I'm going to be productive. Now, the brain itself will be wired to encourage you to go through that day. So that even when you're frustrated somewhere along your day, you look back and you're like, wow, I actually achieved a lot today. You look back and you're full of testimonies because you know that you've been very, very productive. Now, the brain and your thoughts are connected. I repeat, your brain and your thoughts are connected. Whatever you speak into your mind sticks. I was talking with someone today and she said, words are like eggs. Once they drop, you can't fold it back. Now, that's a very simple illustration when we talk about life, too. Things that you speak to yourself register in your mind. And so when you look at yourself and you feel worthless, when you look at yourself and you feel unachieved, when you look at yourself and you feel like there's nothing to talk home about, that already is very bad because it keeps you in the same spot. It keeps you in a point of stagnation. It keeps you in a space where you do not even see yourself growing. You don't see yourself developing. You just see yourself being stagnant. And so you must take control of your thoughts. You must speak positivity into your mind. You must wake up every day and say, today, I'm going to make good of my time. I'm going to do so many things. And at the end of the day, you can score yourself and say, well, I did a good job. Now, secondly, you must plan and organize. Planning and organizing is very important because even I, as a person, I used to be very bad at time management. Until I realized that every day is very crucial. I hate being idle. I don't know if there's so many people out there like me who, in a day, if I can't count two, three things that I've accomplished, I just feel like I've wasted that day. And I don't like to waste my time. I mean, time is money and money doesn't make any time. So one thing you must understand is that planning and organizing is also very instrumental in living a life of significance. Now, here's why. When you wake up every day and you have a schedule, or you have everything planned out, that also helps you to know what it is you've been able to achieve and what it is you haven't been able to achieve. When you go just every day, taking it by chance and just expecting things to automatically happen, at the end of the day, you can't even appraise yourself. The reason for appraisal is so that we can weigh our performances. We can know the things we did well, excellently, and the things we did poorly. Now, planning and organizing is also very important because when you foster an idea and when you develop, purposeful connections and you take control of your thoughts, but if you cannot organize everything together, if you cannot properly plan everything together, it would not still make sense. So taking control of your thoughts is very important. And that leads us to the next point, which is be original and not a copy. Like I said, the average person struggles with self-identity. Originality is very important because originality separates you from the rest. Originality allows you to have a unique sound, a unique flow, a unique image, a unique print. Now, there's some products that when you pick them from the shelf, you know very well that this product was designed in its original form. There is none like it. That's why you pick some phones, like some mobile devices, and they just look similar, like another brand. And you're wondering, well, they seem to have just copied this next product. Now, one thing you must know is that people around you can also identify when you are not original. They can also identify when you're trying to live somebody else's life. They can also understand that you are not the carbon copy. You're not the original copy. You're just a duplicate. Now, one thing about life is that when you go about being a duplicate of every other person, you lose essence and you lose touch of who you can become. Because, like I said, success is based on decisions. Failure is also based on decisions. So when you do not stay true to yourself and you decide to copy the next person's pattern or the next person's trend, just because it works for them doesn't mean it will work for you. So you must first of all understand that you must stay original. Now, last but not least, never give up. Now, when you give up, it simply means that you have lost touch of why you started in the first place. When you have the thought of giving up, it also means that you were never ready to be there in the first place. It means that you did not see yourself, in a place of destiny. You do not see yourself in a place where you can call out, all your achievements and be proud of what you have accomplished. Now, one thing we must know is that when you live a life of significance, the ability to stay resilient, the ability to adapt is key. I was giving a speech recently, and the topic was adaptability and resilience. Now, the word adaptability simply means your capability to adjust to a dynamic environment. For you to lead a life of significance, you must be able to adjust to a dynamic environment. You must be able to take things as they come. You must be able to remain resilient, which means to bounce back even when you fall, to bounce back even when you didn't find your way. Adaptability and resilience is key when you talk about leading a life of significance because it also helps you to remember why you started that thing in the first place. Now, one thing you must also know is when we say never give up, it doesn't mean that if that thing you were doing, if it has tried over time and you know very well that you need to rethink your strategy, you need to reinforce your plan, then go ahead. Do not keep doing the same thing over and over expecting a different result. I mean, that only means that you're going in a limbo. But what you want to do is have a sincere and honest evaluation of how far you've come. Where were you last year? Where do you want to be this year? And where do you hope to go to next year? These are sincere questions that you ask yourself when you talk about life, when you talk about significance, when you talk about purpose, when you talk about potential. They are very instrumental to how we make and how we see life. So quickly, I'll just run over it. The five essential questions that we must ask ourselves every day. Number one, who am I? It's a case of your identity. Number two, where am I from? It's a case of your source. We all have a source. Every product is linked to the source of its manufacturer. Why am I here? Every product is designed to fulfill a particular purpose. Nobody goes into an innovative space just to create something. They go into a creative space to create a thing that is beneficial to society. So you yourself, in fulfilling purpose, must understand that you have to see yourself as a product that God has created into this world. And what is that purpose that you're meant to fulfill? Now, also, what can I do? Is a question of potential. I mean, you see so many people and you see how many amazing things they're doing. All the great men that have lived before us and all the great men that still live on this earth, they have been able to unlock potential. Your ability to unlock your potential helps you also define what you can do in life. Are you a good singer? Are you good at dancing? Are you good at sports? Whatever it is, you must first of all what be able to unlock that potential. This also requires meeting people who are mentors in that space, meeting people who have gone ahead of you in that particular line of work, or meeting people who could help you understand and give you a guide on what to do. So that you just don't be about wondering and become frustrated. And last but not least, where am I going? Brings us back to our team. Own your destiny. Where am I going? That's the question that I'm leaving you with today. Where are you going? With all that I've said, what do you think you can now do better than you done before? What do you think you can do to improve your life? What do you think you can do to foster a passion, to foster your purpose? What do you think you can do to improve your connections, to improve your social relationships? Are they significant? Are they meaningful? Do you plan and organize? Have you taken control of your thoughts? Or are you still allowing the negativity and the noise to speak to you? And also, have you been able to bounce back through resilience and to adapt to a dynamic environment? Because all these things make up a life of significance. And so I leave you today with these questions. And I hope that you have an honest assessment of yourself and you do a thorough check of yourself. Now, here at the Lifeline Conference, we're meant to hold your hand and guide you through. So from now until the end of the sessions tomorrow, we're going to be talking about how you can make a difference with your gifts and how you can break the barriers to success. All of this is to help you discover your gifts and cultivate a presence. The Lifeline Conference is put together for you, yes, you, because we know very well that there are people out there who are just looking for a place where they can find essence, they can find meaning of what to do in their lives. Perhaps you're watching this and you're confused. Perhaps you're watching this and you do not know what to do with your life. Perhaps you're watching this and you pretty much maybe have an idea of the things you could do better. Well, you're in the right place. One thing you must understand is that these essential questions come down to the power of your decision. Your decision, your decision. Whatever it is that you become, it is down to how you decide. So, what decisions are you making today? Are your decisions going to be beneficial to your future? Or are they going to put you in trouble? Are your decisions going to help you grow from today? Or are they going to leave you in a stagnant position? Whatever decisions you make will help you lead a life of significance. So until next time, I remain your host, Daniel Bowman, and I can't wait to have you in day 2 of the Lifeline Conference 3.0. And I assure you, there's a lot more that's going to come. I'm just trying to save all that is in the tank so that I don't overwhelm you just this one day. But here's the thing, leave your comments and we'll definitely address them when we get on the next session. And I hope to see you in the room tomorrow, 29 July, for our very first session. Now, one thing you must know is that the conference is packed and is geared to help us elevate ourselves, to help us grow into a meaningful life. So if you're out there and you're feeling lost, if you're out there and you're feeling like it's just you, well, just know that there's a hand reaching out. We're reaching out and we're here to help. So thank you all for being part of the conference today. And I can't wait to see you guys back again. So please don't forget to like, don't forget to share this post, and don't forget to subscribe so you can be a part of all the updates that we're going to be putting out. And you can be, one of the first to get all the notifications. So thank you for being a part of day 1 of the Lifeline Conference 3.0. And until next time, do remain blessed. Thank you all for dropping by. God bless.